Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is October the 7th, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Hopefully, you had a good Monday. Hopefully, you got that lasagna. I will say, today's been a good day. It's tracking pretty well. I will say I didn't sleep well. That was definitely a bad start. Oh, excuse me. Speaking of bad starts, no, I slept too well Sunday night in terms of like earlier in the evening, like around 9ish, and I woke up like I think around like 2 in the morning. So my sleep schedule was just bleh. I was able to like take a little cat nap at like my last hour before my alarm went off. But overall, today was good. It's definitely peak season, so we were busy, but overall, we're making our way, making it happen. Let's see here. Food corner last night. It was interesting. I switched it up a little bit. I got my ideal pizza day. I made this pizza. It was a concept idea that I had gotten from a friend. They had sent me a thing from one of these Facebook groups we're in, and the pizza was this lamb curry pizza, and I was so inspired. I immediately said, I'm gonna make that. And so I got some lamb, I got some pizza dough, I got some cheese, I got tikka masala instead of like a red curry that I usually would probably get, because I was like, oh, let me just mix it up a little bit, let me switch it up. So I did that, but I realized after I prepared the lamb that it wasn't enough to really cover the spread for the pizza. So I was like, okay, what are we gonna do? I need a little audible. So I put in some fried chicken, and then I put in some like onions, peppers, and put that baby in the oven. And then I also made, because I was just feeling extra fat, I made some cheesy bread, like with the bolillo roll, and it was really good. It was really good. I was very curious how it was going to turn out. I will say it was a very messy, sloppy pizza. Makes sense. I'm using like heavy toppings. They just really didn't like stay or hold well. But yeah, it was yummy. It was really good. It really hit the spot. So yeah, that was my food corner. Like I said, I had a good like chill night. I shaved my head, so that was nice. At least nice for me. And then I just played some games and stuff. So that was cool. And then, like I said, I conked out way too early. But yeah, so now here we are. We're caught up. Let's go ahead and do our startup, and we'll get into some news. The coverage is I feel like it's going to be a little bit stringy today. I don't know. It's hard for me to word how I want to get into it, but we'll do what we can. Let's just do our startup, and we'll chop it up. All right. From the Associated Press. War excuse me. War rages on multiple fronts as Israel marks a year since Hamas October 7th attack. So, kind of felt like almost inevitable that I was going to have to talk about this again, considering a year has gone by, and like we instantly kind of saw that the narrative was going to be like, yeah, this is like our 9/11, and this is how we're going to move post the 9/11 for us. And it's like, okay, well, you're going to have all of the blowback that's going to come from that. But here we are. I really didn't want to dwell too much on it, because I mean, yes, we can look towards, that moment, that what happened, realizing that now, out of all all the hostages that were taken, I think now there are 100 that are still in Gaza. 50 are believed to be alive. But yet there's really no talk on ceasefires. Nothing. that we're pretty much past that. Now we've just focused more on expanding, I guess, the war front from Israel's perspective. Now we're in Lebanon, and we're back to occupying that. That's crazy. It's a very unfortunate situation, and I feel like the average consistent listener, my newsies, they know how I feel about this shit. So I really don't want to get too much in the weeds about it, but I did just want to talk about the numbers. Just referencing the day, it was 12,000 people. Now things have been, warped and twisted and all kinds of shit and conflated on top of that. But that is the number that now we are at and settled as like, okay, it's this number, right? On the other side, there's been 41,000 Palestinians that have been killed. That number is a rising number, mind you. The IDF, they can say, hey, this amount has been terrorists, and these terrorists are using these people as human shields, but it's like, man, I just don't see how this narrative tracks when it's just every day, day after day, you are hitting refugee camps, you are hitting hospitals, you are hitting schools, saying this over and over and over again. And the West just justifies it. At least, the U.S. does, it seems. You got the West, you got the U.K., you got France. You got, a lot of parties just being like, no, that's fine. This is okay. And obviously the U.S. to the hilt, giving just the weapons and ammunition to do the shit. Once again, just referencing the expansion, Israel's strikes in Lebanon since late September have killed at least 1,400 people. I really do feel like you could already round that number up to 2,000 once again, and counting. Once again, the IDF is going to try to say, oh, well, we've killed at least 400. I think I heard 460, some number to that effect today when I was listening to the BBC. And it's like, okay, but did you not just hear the number we just said? At least 1,400. And it's like, well, that's Hezbollah numbers. You can't believe that. It's like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? Like, these are human beings. These are civilians. These are women, children, men, people who have nothing to do with this conflict. They just want to live their lives. Not to mention the people who have had their whole lives destroyed, and they are just moving place to place to place to place, and they're just hoping to make it to the next day. They have to leave even outside sometimes. You're just turning people into refugees in certain situations. This is already a place that is already going through crisis in Lebanon as well. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, you have Israel literally pacing, licking their chops to quote unquote get retaliation against Iran, which is like, they're like, oh, they're the puppet master behind all of this. And not to mention, they just recently, hit us with with a missile strike. And it's like, okay, but we've discussed the damage of that. Essentially, you're talking about military, economic damage, yada, yada, yada. But it's like, oh, no, you came for us. We got to come for you way harder. They're talking about trying to, like, blow missile silos or oil. And it's like, dude, that's going to fuck up our interests. You would think we would want to stop that. And all Biden can do is just be like, yeah, I just hope that they don't do that, Jack. I think that would be kind of malarkey. And it's like, bro, are you serious? This is so limp-wristed. It's so bad. And I know that Harris would do the same. I know Trump would do the same, if not maybe more. It's just is so fucking frustrating, dog, that we're talking about how we got to get Iran. We got to make them pay for it. Like, come on, dude, for what? I hate to say that shit. I get it. Don't get me wrong. I understand. Iran bad. Like, I get the reasons. But at the end of the day, this justification just doesn't add up to me. It doesn't add up to my head when I look at what's been going on. And once again, we can talk about October 7th. I get it. But this shit did not start on October 7th of 2023. You know what I mean? This shit, we're not talking about 1948. You know what I mean? We never do. And that's just not the conversation at all when we're doing this shit. They only invoke the spell of, hey, remember October 7th? Remember all the bad shit that Hamas did and that all the Middle East wants to do, because they've invoked this before. They did this again when it came to Lebanon, where they're like, yeah, they were going to do on October 7th again to us. That's why we had to do what we had to do. We had to start doing airstrikes. We had to start killing people, dog. We had to get that border back, too. That's essential for us. Once again, just changing the optics and narrative. Where once again, it's like, dude, Hezbollah has said, if you make a ceasefire deal with Hamas and Gaza, we'll stop. This stops. And they're like, yeah, we aren't doing that, though. And And that just doesn't matter. It's seemingly, I guess, and that's crazy to me. So to me, once again, I get it. People are gonna have visuals and shit. That should be on both sides of the fence, and I'm glad at least you're seeing at least some of that coverage. But it's was really hard for me to do that. I'm sorry to just be like, hey, moment of silence for this group of people, but not the other group of people that have been going through shit or continuing to go through shit. And you know what I mean? We're not gonna have a moment of silence on October 8th when this shit started gearing up, are we? No, we're not. So I'm just doing the best I can, y'all. Anyway, let's move on to some other news. I thought hurricane season was over. Actually, I have no idea when hurricane season ends. I actually can look that up. Let's Google it. When does hurricane season end? Does hurricane... Bear with me. Season end. It ends, November 30th. See, I'm dumb. That doesn't work. But hey, I like Pulp Fiction. Or not Pulp Fiction, Pineapple Express. So if you know that reference, you know it. Anyway, let's talk about Hurricane Milton, the new big baddie. Once again, from the Associated Press. Hurricane Milton is a Category 5. Florida orders evacuations and scrambles to clear Helene's debris. Florida's storm-battered Gulf Coast race against a Category 5 hurricane Monday as workers sprinted to pick up debris left over from Helene 2 weeks ago, and highways were clogged with people fleeing ahead of the storm. The center of Hurricane Milton could come ashore Wednesday in the Tampa Bay. Oops, sorry, got it out of the way. In the Tampa Bay region, which has not endured a direct hit by a major hurricane in more than a century. Scientists expect the system to weaken slightly before landfall, though it could retain hurricane strength as it churns across central Florida towards the Atlantic Ocean. That would largely spare other states ravaged by Helene, which killed at least 230 people on its path from Florida to the Carolinas. So yeah, it's really unfortunate that, just about the same area that kind of took the brunt of this is about to take it on again, and we don't know what's going to happen, post that. I haven't been tracking this storm too hard, but I know it went from like a 1 to a 5 pretty quickly. So they go through the explanation. I'm not a meteorologist, but by all means, if you are very curious, then you can read and, learn. But, I just wanted to mention this because I had heard towards the end of last week that's like, hey, I know that this shit's going on right now. Shit's really rough, but be on the lookout. This shit's about to happen again. And the talk about debris is really important and pertinent, I should say, because it's mentioned in this article where it's like it becomes missiles. It becomes a ballistic situation if this debris is not picked up in time. And so people are frustrated. They're like, hey, we wish this could have gotten done sooner and faster because we're now back in another storm situation. And this could do even more damage because we have the damage on the ground already. And now that's going to get whipped up into this shit. So that's scary. That's concerning. So I really hope that this isn't going to be as bad as potentially projected. Hopefully this isn't as bad as Helene. Cause damn, but I'll tell you what, man, this weather shit, it just seemingly gets worse and worse, but we just got to move, got to carry on, and you just got to do the best you can for yourself and your fellow neighbor. Right. So I'll try to keep you guys posted on any updates from Hurricane Milton. All right, we have one more thing I wanted to cover. It is an update on my favorite lunatics. But let me take my last break and we will close it out. All right. Now, this is like a breaking news kind of thing. I just got this pretty much like, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes or an hour or so. I was at the gym. I was like, ooh, okay, update. I didn't think it was an update. I thought it was like, oh, you're telling me something I've already covered. I already know. But from Baller Alert, also TMZ, but I just couldn't find it again. 3 St. Lunatics members want nothing to do with $50 million lawsuit against Nelly, leaving Ali to continue alone. So we have an update here 3 Saint Lunatics members have chosen to distance themselves from the $50 million lawsuit filed against Nelly by fellow groupmate Ollie Jones. The lawsuit, initially filed in mid-September, claims that Ollie and other Saint Lunatics members were excluded from royalties tied to Nelly's Country Grammar album and other tracks. Now, this came up when Nelly, went to sell the album. Ollie and it was alleged that others were like upset about this, and they're like, hey, we were promised a cut here, like we were promised royalties and we didn't see any of that. Nelly's lawyers more or less come out and said, nah, that's not really the case. Everything is being warped by, the, plaintiff, I guess you would say here. But here's the update. According to a legal letter obtained by TMZ, Nelly's lawyer, N. Scott Rosenbaum, stated that Murphy Lee, Kaijin, and City Spud did not authorize their inclusion in the lawsuit and have retained him to remove. Oh, sorry, I got another ad in the way. To remove their names from the case. 3 members also indicated that they remain on good terms with Nelly. Also, it's important to note, Sunday, the 3 artists took the stage with Nelly at the American Music Awards, raising questions as the lawsuit was filed just weeks ago. Well, we know they were sending a message. They want nothing to do with the lawsuit initiated by Ali. Ooh, excuse me, had some bad burps there. So yeah, I don't know if this was like a bit of a campaign here by Nelly to be like, oh, I can nip this in the bud, I bet. And this is speculation hat on, by the way. I have no, indication or proof of this. It just seems like, oh, you would think you'd have your ducks in a row. It's also very possible that Ali just thought that they would all be on board with this, and then we only heard that, like, no, one person isn't involved out of the group, and it's like, no, actually more people don't want anything to do with this. So who knows? Maybe it's a little bit of column A, column B. Who knows? But once again, I was like, oh, okay, this is an update. This is new news on the subject. So I figured, hey, let's go ahead and deliver it. Let's talk about it. Let's yap a little bit. I do hope that things somehow do get resolved as amicably as possible. Like I said, I'm a man who is a native to Missouri. I'm a native to St. Louis. Like, I grew up being like, oh my God, I love Nelly. I love the St. Lunatics. I love this group, man. It was so cool. Also, it's cool that apparently he brought out Jaquan as well. And Chingy? Fuck, man. See, that's cool as fuck. Like, that's such a power move, man. Like, how can you beat that kind of flex? He brought half the motherfuckers in the lawsuit and more, bro, and some other motherfuckers. Like, Jibs should have, like, flew in from the ceiling. Is that your chain? That would have been sick. Anyway. All right, I'm done. That's it. That's the episode. Okay, not too crazy. A nice little smaller episode, Let's see here. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/Lasagna News. Become a newsie today. You shout you out at the top of the month, if you like. Plug a project as well, if that's a thing you're into. 3 ways to hit me up, isaiahnews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. That really helps out. That's a free way to support the cause. Leave a like, leave a comment. Sharing is caring. If you're listening on Spotify or any other platform, kind of rinse and repeat. Leave the stars, all the stars. That's always helpful. Means a lot. But really what means the most is that you've tuned in and you've hung out with me today. And that means that really does mean the world, It is a big reason why I do this. So thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.